So I'm here with Jemma Read from Pride Protect today, and the discussion we're going to have today is all around protection, and it's something that is really close to my heart from suffering a critical illness, a brain tumour 17 years ago. So actually I've benefited from a policy, myself and my family have benefited from that, but I just, over the last 17 years, I've sadly come across many clients, many friends that have had to claim on different parts of protection, from income protection, from critical illness cover to life cover. And I just wanted to get something out into social media that people could listen to, could learn from, to reflect on their own circumstances and actually kind of react and hopefully dig out their own policies and review their situation to ensure that they've either got the right amount of cover, and if they haven't, then they need to do something about it, really. So today's just a really relaxed conversation around protection policies, what they do, what they don't do, the things that you see in your world, because you're dealing with it on a day-to-day basis. You're an expert, a specialist, which we've been using for many years. So to make a start, Jemma, that's why protection is really important to me, because I've seen the benefit financially, but also through some of the features and benefits that come through policies. But would you just talk to me about why protection matters so much to you? Yeah,
I think, for me, it's understanding that these particular policies can be there for someone when they need them the most. Everyone goes through difficult times in their lives, but actually this is probably one of the most difficult situations you can be in. Either you've lost somebody, you've been diagnosed with perhaps some form of critical illness, or you're in a situation where you are unable to work because you're either unwell or you're incapacitated in some way. And for me, it's important because knowing that those products are there when people may need them the most, allows me to have peace of mind for those customers and know that I've done a good job for them.
Sure. On protection, I suppose it's probably sensible to jump straight into when we talk about protection.
What does that mean?
Can mean so many things. And do you know what? I don't want to say the only reason I had a policy in place because I work for a bank. So I kind of understood I was in that world anyway, but there's so many people that aren't in that position and don't understand the benefits of having a policy in place, and probably think it's just there for the worst case scenario, and it might never happen to me, but it does so many times. But so would you just mind breaking protection down, or insurances down, or assurances down for people that are watching?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing I would say, just coming into that, is a lot of the time protection is associated with taking out a mortgage, and I just want to sort of distill that. It's not. You don't have to have a mortgage to have protection, and we will come on to other reasons, later on as we continue with our conversation. But if we were to summarise, what does protection actually mean? I would say, life assurance is there to provide a lump sum or an income upon death. So it's very much about providing financial stability in the event of losing somebody. Don't forget, when we lose somebody, we don't just lose them, but we potentially lose the income that they bring to the household. And that is a significant impact for lots of people. Critical illness cover, as the name may suggest, is designed to provide a lump sum of money if a client has a critical illness. And, there are a multitude of different critical illnesses covered, but typically the big ones. You mentioned one already, cancer, number one, heart attacks, strokes, MS, Parkinson's, brain tumours, those six, they're the big six, unfortunately. And then lastly, but by no means least importantly, income protection. Income protection is, as the name suggests, designed to provide income. What's the one thing that underpins everything we do?
Our income, our salaries,
Without it, we're in a difficult position. So,
would you say that kind of we life cover is probably the main one that everybody goes to, because I don't know, do we talk about it more, or is it because there's a debt to insure, or it's just because it's come down from parents? Because actually I would have thought protecting our income was one of the most important things to do, because if I can't work and I can't take that income, then all the things that I'm unable to achieve or my family's unable to achieve just won't happen. So is that, I don't know where you
I think all of the above, actually. So you mentioned about life assurance. People are most familiar perhaps with life assurance, and I think there are a few reasons for that. One, mum and dad may have had a mortgage, and years ago actually it was almost a legality that you had to have life assurance in place with your mortgage. Now it's advisable, but it is completely your choice as to whether you protect yourself. So I think there's an inherent learning perhaps that's been passed down from families. I think life assurance it's very important, but we are very much bombarded by cheap quotes for life assurance and things like that online, and so there is a little bit more noise about that. That really shouldn't be the way it is, to be honest with you. We should have a very holistic view and consider all of the risks. Death is one risk we all have, but actually if we become critically ill or we can't work, which statistically actually within our working life is a higher risk, what happens there? We're here to watch all of that crumble around us with no income coming in.
Actually, I'm going to quickly fast forward because I did a bit of research before, coming out to have this chat with you, and I ran through the facts about risk that I face as a 44-year-old. Mate, I know people that are watching this would think, 44, really, Pete? You're not that old. But I have a 4% chance of dying before 67. A 15% of a critical illness, and a 20% chance of being off work for 2 months or more. I mean, there's more chance of me losing my income than there is of me dying, thankfully. Cancer is the leading cause of death worldwide, nearly 1 in 6. So for me, that kind of highlighted, life cover, kind of makes sense, but important, but actually protecting my income to some extent or against the critical illness side of it. That's just my risks. And just I kind of looked at that and thought, geez, that's something that we don't talk enough about, the income side of things and the stuff that I wouldn't be able to do or my family wouldn't be able to do. And I think sometimes we also go, work's got that covered. Oh, work's got that covered. I'll again get sick pay. And the amount of conversations I've had with people going, well, how long would you get sick pay for? And default, I don't know, actually, right, we'll have a look. And then it's like, sugar, actually only get 1 day in statutory sick pay.
I'll be honest, actually, most people I speak to, we look at the contract of employment and either it's a big surprise, but there's not a lot of benefit there in terms of statutory sick pay. It's kind of the basic. Or there's a lot less than they assumed they were going to get. And that, the last thing you want to do is look at your contract of employment when you're sick and realise you've only got 1 month of sick pay.
Ouch. And then what direct debits can't I afford? Or the clubs and the things and the hobbies and stuff you've kind of got for the children. So it's trying to understand the kind of effect, I suppose, and what you would lose if you'd lost that income. Okay, that's
Can I come back to your stats that you mentioned about? So I think it was 4% risk of death between now and retirement age, 20% risk of critical illness.
That's right,
So, that, and I use this expression when I'm talking to clients, we should try to put eggs in all the baskets if we can. Let's not all have our eggs in the what if I die basket. What we should potentially be doing is trying to think about the different risks we have. We have a risk of death and the impact on family is great. We have a risk of having a critical illness, and we also have the risk of being unable to work due to illness or incapacity. Actually, what we should be trying to do is mitigate as much of that risk as possible, so that if we don't know what cards are going to be dealt to us, so if a card is dealt, that we have something there to pull on, we haven't got everything in the what if I die basket, because that's important, but it's also important to look at the other areas.
Of course it's no, that's really
weird way of explaining it, but that's my simple brain.
No. Well, look, but you've got so much good experience and knowledge. Just on that, in your experience, is there any myths you want to kind of debunk? Is that the right word? That you want to say, look, actually, a lot of people might think X, Y, and Z, and actually, in real world, it's not like that.
I absolutely.
Come to mind?
I would say probably one objection that comes up occasionally, and actually it doesn't come up as commonly as perhaps it used to, which is a good thing, but it does come up every now and then, and that is, well, insurance companies do everything they can to not pay a claim, or actually it's just that insurance companies don't pay out. And I think the way that I would explain this is, do you ever watch the news? Do you watch the news? I try not to, actually, because it's quite negative.
Yeah, very negative. Doesn't help my blood pressure.
No. Good example. You watch the news, there is nothing negative on there. You only hear the negative, There's nothing positive on there. You only ever hear the negatives. I would liken that to insurance claims in that, if you go onto the Association of British Insurers, you can see how much insurance companies are paying out, and it's millions in claims. No one ever goes out and shouts about they've had a claim and they've got, £250,000 or, a regular income. But what actually happens is, they perhaps one or two people who have had difficulty claiming will that sort of almost outshines all the good stuff. And occasionally things do happen. That is the case. I will be honest with you, the majority of reason people have a problem claiming is due to non-disclosure. So not disclosing accurately their medical history, which is why it's so important to have an advisor to guide you through this process and make sure that all the information that's meant to be there is disclosed. When we're looking at insurers, I would say most insurers are paying between, depending on the product, 96% to 99% of claims. So there is a whole lot of really, I'm going to say happy people. They are when the claim goes through, but people that are more comfortable given their claim.
We most definitely need to shout out about that, don't we?
Yes.
Rather than they're going to try and get out of making this payment because it's a huge sum of money. But it must be millions of hundreds of millions of pounds that the insurance policies sadly are paying out, and that's the important thing.
I mean, it is sadly because someone's going through a difficult position, aren't they? But there's a huge amount of data out there and claims statistics for each insurer. They issue their claims data every year, and there's some excellent reading out there. But as an advisor, I would share that information with people to let them know actually, you're in a good place, you're in safe hands. And I don't know about you, do you remember treating customers fairly? That was sort of a, something that came in a few years ago. From the regulator a regulatory piece of work. And an insurer is, they have to be looking to treat a customer fairly to make sure that they are looking to pay claims where there is a valid claim. And that's an important piece of work that they do. Yeah,
we're not talking about car insurance here, are we? Or anything like that, or home insurance. We're talking about protecting one's ability to earn money or life or health, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Do you think people actually know what they're covered for? Or do you think sometimes it's a bit of a tick box exercise? I know that's probably wrong because you're an advisor. So maybe actually we could just, would you mind just talking about a little bit about your role with people? Because going back to what you said already, some people might see things on their social media page, or when they go online, they go life cover, they see low cost, providers, etc. Whereas what's kind of your role? How do you help clients? Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, let's break that down into the first question actually. So do people know what they're insured for? I would say actually the majority of people who do sometimes go online and start looking for things haven't quite got it right. With the greatest will in the world, they've gone out with the best intention, but actually, putting a round peg in a square hole occasionally to try and, get something in place, and actually it's not quite fit for purpose. So I think people who've perhaps gone out and attempted to try and do something on their own, some have had a very good try at it, but actually having robust advice is really important. And I think, a lot of the time we're bombarded with cheap life assurance or, get life assurance, and actually when we're giving advice, we're looking at all of those risks, not just are we going to die, but what if we're sick? How am I going to maintain my lifestyle and my bills if I'm suffering with a critical illness and I'm going through chemotherapy? That person hasn't passed away. Therefore, life assurance isn't actually going to do anything for them unless they are given less than 12 months to live or they've passed away. And, with the greatest intentions, they've gone and purchased something that they thought was
it was
the right thing at the time. So I think lots of people perhaps don't know what they've got. Equally, I would say if they've had advice, perhaps they've got those dusty policy documents and they put them in the cupboard and they need to kind of get them out and blow the dust off them. And maybe
what should they be looking if they do that? Because that's a really good point, isn't it? You're right. Normally it's I've taken out this cover because I've got a mortgage. Okay, and then it goes in the back of the drawer. And I've got to admit, the kind of conversation I have with clients and friends as well. Sadly, they announce that they're going through a difficulty with they're off long-term sick, or they've got critical illness, or something even worse than But it's going well. look at the policy now. Don't wait. Like
Yeah.
understand what you could claim for, all
Yes.
those other features and benefits. So
Yeah.
if we kind of visualize someone's just gone to the drawer, got it out, what could they or should they be looking at?
I mean, I think, if they're looking at support services, things that could help them now, there are lots of additional features within life, critical illness and income protection products that may help somebody that's going through a difficult time. So there may be bereavement counselling, for example. There may be personal counselling, so psychology services. We know how difficult right now it is to get into waiting lists and get access to those kind of things. There's also services like physio services, occupational health and support from, in fact, some insurers, and I won't go into each insurer specifically, but some insurers you can access treatment around the world if you've got a particular feature built into your policy that you may just have forgotten about.
Or you wouldn't have even read. You just would have gone, it's a premium of, it's X amount a month going out of the account. I call upon that in my time of need. When actually there could be smaller needs now. Initial needs, absolutely. And children's critical illness, you and I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago.
People may have taken out a critical illness policy to provide themselves with a lump sum. But actually, there are lots of critical illness policies that may have a small element of children's critical illness cover built into them. And if a child becomes critically ill, the parent's ability to be able to work full time, or, for example, they may need to pay for additional therapies or adaptations to the home. They may have that in that policy.
And it's something they don't even know about. Okay, wow.
Absolutely.
Have you ever come across anybody that could have claimed but didn't?
No, actually, I have had a children's critical illness claim. Not a very nice situation to be in, but actually, what an incredible difference to that mum and dad's life. And they wrote me a fantastic letter, which I stupidly haven't shared to anyone out there. But I think,
it's personal, isn't it? And sometimes we don't want to.
It's quite emotional. But so I haven't had that situation where they've
could have claimed, but they didn't claim because they would have known.
But I've certainly had a children's critical illness claim, which, was a difficult situation. But wow, what a difference that cover made.
Would you just mind touching on those other support services just quickly? Because something's come to my memory bank is so like virtual GPs and stuff. Because, sadly, we're in a position where many of us may have experienced difficulty to meet with a GP, even face to face or virtually. But I know we've had to use it.
I've used it myself
with one of our policies. So what does that look like?
So depending on the insurer, I mean, lots of insurers have various features, but they're all quite similar in respect. You may have an app that you can download, which you access when you take out the policies. Through that app, you can request a virtual GP appointment. And normally you will have an appointment, to be honest, that same day or, within a couple of days, depending on the urgency of whatever the condition is that you're asking about. They may then, in fact, they can, for some insurers, issue you with a private prescription.
Okay. Wow.
So you can go and get medication. If you're on holiday with your children abroad, how useful is that when, your son's, I don't know, needing additional asthma treatment or, something like that. So, it's really useful.
That's good to know. That's good. And that's good to know, isn't it? Because, again, you're paying for something you may not really know how you can benefit from.
Absolutely. Okay. There's also the legal aspect as well. So some insurers will have legal services, and there's one example that stays in my mind through my career, and it was the boundary disputes, and I think a lifetime ago we may have worked for the same company, and that may have been something that came up there, and actually getting legal advice about boundaries that probably would have cost that person a fortune. Actually, they were able to call and speak to someone. I've used that service myself. I won't tell you what it's about. It's personal, but just to check out some information on something and have some legal advice, and it was great.
So dig out policies. Have a look to see one. I suppose the amount that you're covered for, the term as well, because we all think it might be. That's years ahead, but we all know how time kind of flies.
It's probably worth clarifying what term means as well, because to you and I,
term, well done. The jargon.
What does term mean? Well, actually, how long is left on your policy?
Yeah.
How many years have you got? Is it 2 years? Because if so, you probably might need to do
Start
something.
thinking about it. Yeah.
And do it now while you're young and fit and healthy.
Yeah, because the danger is, I suppose, the next couple of years, something else could creep in, and therefore the underwriting's, going through a new policy update would be different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it worth mentioning about, I think we've definitely talked about this before, but, taking cover out when you're young, fit and healthy, not waiting until it's too late?
Yeah. No. Well, so yes, most definitely, because, with my scenario, it was my wife already had a house.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that we went along to an appointment and sat down and did mortgage together and we had cover. This was something that was within the benefits system of my employer. Yeah. So, that sounds like a good idea. I'll take it out. Look how grown up I am.
Yeah.
And, thankfully, it was in place when I contracted had a brain tumour. So if I hadn't have been in the bank, if that had been anywhere else, I wouldn't have had the cover.
No.
And the difference it made to Paul and I, there was a time where we were very close to not being able to afford the income because I didn't have income protection. So most definitely I think it's worth to kind of talk about, I say let's talk about the kind of, no matter anybody's circumstances, situations are going to be different.
Yes, of course.
Kind of think, I've got debt, I'll take it out. That's normally the kind of, take it the first interaction they've got with someone to talk about it. Kids make sense. Yeah. But actually, I also kind of think, well, if I was single and had no children, then I haven't got anybody to rely on. If I can't work, then at least Paula can, my wife. So, sugar, what happens if she's not there? So I suppose it's all encompassing, is it? Would you just mind maybe touching on that?
So I think coming to your last point around,
I'm throwing loads of questions at you.
No, that's fine. It's absolutely fine. If you're a single person with no dependents, is there perhaps that misconception? Maybe you don't need to have protection in place. Actually, I would say there's absolutely a need. It's just getting the protection right for you. Yeah. Probably just taking that short scenario, I wouldn't say potentially life assurance is the most important thing for a single person with no dependents, because if you're dead, who's that money going to? There's actually nobody for it to go to. I'm just being, straight down the line there. But actually, if you're sick, if you get that lump in the breast, if you get that bleeding from the bowels, if you get that, all those things that we don't like to talk about, and you go to a consultant, you've got a cancer or something that's, not good and you can't work, actually as a single person, you're supporting yourself. Yeah. So therefore the most important thing perhaps to that individual would be to maintain stability of income, have some form of income replacement that covers illnesses and accidents that prevent you working. You can keep your bills paid. And I don't know about you, but the most important thing is being able to focus on yourself and getting better.
Yes. Yeah.
If you're worried about money, that's not a good place to
your
be. Stress.
No. Yeah, not at all. No, you wouldn't want to be in that. That position at all, really. That'd be horrible.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not conducive for recovery, is it? Stress and money worries are not going to help with anyone.
We all know what stress can lead to as well. But you don't even want to be putting yourself in that position, really.
Yeah. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, most definitely. Because again, we make decisions based on our own circumstances. Yeah. And like we've already said about the jargon around term.
Yes.
I'm sat here as married with 3 children. Therefore they are the most important things to me. So therefore that's what I'm going to protect.
Yes.
When actually take a step back, if I lost the income into the household, then we're going to have the children are going to be impacted on that.
Yes.
It's going to have a huge effect on them. So and if I was single, then the loss of the income would put me in a position of pain, which I wouldn't necessarily want if I'm trying to focus on treatment, getting to places. And actually, if it is the worst case scenario, and I've got a length of time now on my life, there might be some things on my bucket list I really want to get and do. So I suppose it's having money to be able to achieve those other things as well.
Yeah,
that's a really good point.
Also, I think, having a critical illness isn't necessarily a death sentence nowadays.
No.
But it certainly puts the kibosh on your plans for a period of time while you're going through treatment. And, if you're not able to work during that time, that's a really difficult position to be in. Yeah. And if you have got kids, them asking, Daddy, can we go here? And, Daddy, can I afford to do this? And it's not a nice position to to be in.
No. If you can do anything to put yourself so you're not in that position, it's important. The right thing to do, isn't it? Right thing to do. So, in terms of what people can do today, we've kind of already approached on that, haven't we? In terms of getting the policies out they've already got,
if they have them, and I think that's the if you have something, blow the dust off it. Get it out the cupboard and see. There's nothing worse than having a situation where you've got a critical illness or you're not able to work and you realise your policy ran out 5 months ago. That's probably, hindsight.
Yeah, well, that's like my car insurance or tax. Get a text from your MOTs. I was like, oh, sugar, really? Whoops.
Exactly.
These things can kind of slip our minds, can't they?
Yeah. So if you've got it, get them out. Let's have a look at those documents. If you need help, get in touch with someone. We're happy to help you or
most definitely. Is there a rule of thumb around how often we should review protection policies? So
I would say, at least annually, I think is a sensible approach. So once a year, touch base. Let's have a look at what you've got in place. Or if you've had a life event, we've had a baby or we've moved house,
change jobs.
And I would say this, actually starting a business, there are also protection policies that can be run through a limited company.
Sure, yeah.
That just touching on that is another subject, I think, perhaps
for another day.
But life events that perhaps may have changed your financial circumstances or given you a dependent to look after,
Yeah. And you would then review, so if that life event happened, review, again, length of time the policy's in place, I take it the amount and also the features that you might benefit from or they might benefit from.
Yeah, I mean, let's say you've moved house, you may have taken out a life assurance, which is for a previous mortgage.
Yes.
The amount of cover may be lower than what you need. And the length of the policy is relating to that old mortgage that is no longer in existence. And you've now taken a mortgage for 30 years, not 10 that's left on the other one. So very much about, is this aligned to what I need right now?
And also income, because a lot of people may not have had that conversation about protecting their income. So our income increases hopefully each year or bonuses and all that kind of stuff.
Or you change occupation, I would say it's not very often that people move from, one occupation to a very significantly different occupation, but occasionally it happens.
They might leave different firms. There's no longer this kind of job for life, is there?
Absolutely. No. And this is a real risk, actually. You just made me think about it. Maybe somebody is with a firm that has sick pay of 6 months, full pay.
Yeah.
And then they leave to start a fleggling, exciting company, great base salary. All of a sudden the benefits have changed. So they've got no sick pay. Wow. Okay, all of a sudden
and
things
just assume that they've
massively
got something.
changed. So I would say all of those things, changes to mortgage, having children. They may have taken out a very cheap life assurance policy because that's what was the thing to do at the time. When they bought their first property, they've now got a partner who may be dependent on them to some extent, or a child that may be dependent. The needs are completely different.
Constantly changing, aren't they? Potentially over our life, for sure. Okay, that's really interesting. I was thinking, and then my mind's gone blank on that.
We were talking about the circumstances changing.
I think what's the thing about work as well is that you might change jobs, you might get different packages, you might get 3 months, 6 months, half pay, full pay, and and then it drops down our earning ability. But then you're right, our partner could be working and then they decide not to work to look after the children for a period of time. Your income becomes more important. There's a whole range of different circumstances can change.
Absolutely.
And new children come along.
Yeah.
Do you need to name children on policies?
It depends on the types of policy with the certain insurers, but I would say 9 out of 10 times, you don't. It would be covered if there is a certain aspect of critical illness cover with some children's cover built in. But these are all things, again,
get
this
advice.
Is sounding interesting, get advice from somebody.
Yeah.
I thought of something and now mind has also just got blank. Oh, I know. So we're talking about benefits from your employer.
Yes.
I do find actually some people very much depend solely on these benefits from their employer. And I would say, just as a friendly piece of advice, don't have all those eggs in one basket. Redundancies can happen. You may decide you're not happy in that business anymore. The culture may have changed. You're not really as happy as you used to be. Or there's a really exciting opportunity with another company. if you have all of your protection with your employer, and you're made redundant, all of a sudden, all of that cover is gone. And I think one of the things I would say is having your own provisions that can follow you through life.
Yeah, that's really sensible, isn't it?
It's a very sensible thing. It just decouples the sort of employment and protection.
Well, also,
scenario.
you could be older.
Yes.
Which, you could have other ailments that have come along. You could have joined an employer 10 years ago. Now you've had some sickness, illness, and then for you to get cover on your own right, it could be even harder.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or more expensive potentially.
Yes.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
That's really good.
I'm not saying it's not important to have the cover through work as well, but you can have multiple life assurances. Having your own provision is not an unsensible thing to consider.
So I think really the takeaway from this is, dig out your policies, review, but have a conversation with someone that's in the know.
Yeah.
That will get an understanding of who you are, what's important to you, the types of risks that you might be exposed to, and then gain a picture of how to spread your eggs in
different baskets.
Eggs in baskets.
Put your eggs, spread your risk.
Spread your risk.
Put eggs in different baskets. That's my weird terminology, but that's it. So visually that works.
So whatever life throws at you, hopefully you've got your bases covered. Because it can throw lots of different curveballs around, can't it? Yeah. So look, one thing that people may be thinking about is the cost of these things, and it's really expensive. In terms of your experience, what's your thoughts about people feeling like that?
Yeah, I think like anything, it's about how much you're prepared to commit to your protection. For example, in this scenario, you may have a package with your TV provider. It could be from £20 up to £120.
Mine's more expensive. Mine's over 100.
It depends what is important to you. I think what I would say is, we can design packages that try to address the different priorities that a customer has, and they don't have to be exponentially expensive, and they can be tailored to a customer. And I think that's where the value of having good advice comes. But surprisingly, actually, for some options, it's not particularly expensive, but it is very much about tailoring it to each client. But get good advice. There is always an option. There's variables that we can play with and change the different elements to the cover and make it more affordable if we need to.
Okay. So first of all, to kind of have a discussion, have a conversation, and then we can talk about budget at some point, obviously. But
there's something for everybody. We just have to make sure we know how we can do that for somebody. And
it's kind of a myth, isn't it? It's expensive. Where do we get that from? Like you say, my TV subscriptions are expensive, but actually it provides me and my family with access to football and rugby and all the
things
sport
that you like.
We really love to sit down as a family and watch and enjoy. But this is something that potentially means if I'm not there, they're going to continue to be able to afford that in a funny way.
Totally. You hit the nail on the head there. And I think I suppose protection insurances are intangible. We can't touch, feel, taste. They're there, to help us at a time when things might be very difficult. What's the cost of not doing it? Probably the best way to think about it. That's going to be even
greater than totally. That's a really good way of putting it. Gemma, thank you so much for your time. It's been really good, really, really nice to get an insight in terms of what protection is available, and the things that we all should be thinking about, and really, what the steps that they need to take next. So
absolutely, if we can make a difference to a few people's lives, if that that unthinkable thing happens, then we've done our job.
Too right. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.